Welcome to Round 5, the final round of the Irish Drift Championship. Round 5 would run alongside, as always, Ireland's largest car show, Japfest at Mandelo Park. With thousands in attendance, competitors knew the pressure was on to perform in front of the largest crowd of the year. And with this being the finals, each driver would risk it all to top the podium. Before we kick off the action, let's take a quick look back at the 2013 IDC season. Mondello Park was the first stop on the IDC calendar, and Ireland's only professional race circuit would prove a great test of new setups and championship ambitions. With some of Ireland's best-known drift superstars, such as Martin French, Darren McNamara and Nigel Colfer, returning to battle the new breed of Irish talent, Mondello would throw out some surprise battles and victors. James Dean would gain the perfect start to the season, taking the round win from Gavin Lennon after some tough judging decisions, mechanical failures and unpredictable weather conditions. Punchestown has often been labelled the most difficult and dangerous course of the year. A blind entry followed by 5 metal barrier rear clipping zones mean Punchestown would be a clear example of the risk-reward judging system at IDC. After some heavy shunts and customary paint trading, Alan Sinnott would debut his brand new car and take the round win, beating James Dean in the final. Next, the IDC would travel west to Ennis, County Clare, and the smallest, most technical course so far. Ennis would always prove a great eliminator of big budgets and horsepower, with drivers encouraged to get as close as possible to both the concrete walls and each other. James Dean would once again reign supreme, beating Dwayne McKeever to take the round win. Round 4, and we travelled south to County Cork, where yet another custom course awaited the drivers. The long sweeping first corner produced some amazing high-speed wall running and door-to-door action. The entire grid would put on an amazing show, sending the IDC fans into a frenzy. But after blitzing the Superlap and overcoming intense battles, James Dean would come out on top and in turn mathematically lock out the 2013 championship with a round to spare. We're here in Mandelo Park, the epicentre of Irish motorsport, to give you a run through of the track for IDC Round 5. Right now, I'm at the start line where drivers must accelerate at full speed up to a blind first corner looking directly at the grandstand. After accelerating at full speed down the straight, drivers will initiate the drift by pulling the handbrake at over 90 miles an hour to get both rear wheels into clipping zone 1. This is a make or break part of the track, as it's off camber, downhill and really sets up the rest of the course. Next up, clipping zone 2, where drivers must run the front wheel of their car as close to the curb as possible. This is a risk-reward zone, as the speed gun comes into effect. Go too fast and you risk overshooting the corner and into the grass. Go too slow and you'll automatically be deducted points in the scoring system. Next up, clipping zone 3, where drivers must go in full angle to try and keep both wheels on the tarmac. As you can see, there's very little traction off track, so this is where you'll see drivers drop a wheel, spin or put 4 wheels off course. After a snappy lock-to-lock transition, drivers must set themselves up for the final corner by putting rear wheels into clipping zone 4. Clip 5 is on the apex of Ford Corner. This is the slowest part of the course, which allows drivers to make the dive and go door to door. Clipping zone 6 is the final rear clipping zone of the course. From here, it's full throttle across the line in front of the judges' tower. So now you're up to speed with the track layout, let's kick off the action with the semi-professional class. The semi-pro Saturday event was a complete washout. Gary Dunn and Chris Doyle would contest third, while David Garvey and Martin Turrell would fight for top spot. With constant rain making the track almost undrivable and grip levels inconsistent, Chris Doyle and Gary Dunn would do an excellent job of sticking to the judges' criteria on the first half of this battle. All very much in the balance as we switched them around. Chris Doyle would finish 2013 as one of the rookies of the season, but would push far too hard and drop a wheel off course and almost spin out. Gary Dunn's consistent driving all day was rewarded, and he was looking firm favourite to take third. It's official, Gary Dunn takes third place on the podium. David Garvey and Martin Tyrrell had never made it this far in competition before, so are fighting hard for the round win. This battle would go one more time twice, as neither driver could find the traction to gain any sort of proximity. The judges would need a definitive winner. Martin Tyrrell would unfortunately make that definitive mistake, spinning out to avoid going off course. David Garvey in his SR20 powered Corolla would hold his nerve to surely take the round win. All that was left was for the judges to make it official. The final round of semi-pro would once again prove an unpredictable weekend highlight. It's official, David Garvey takes the win. Once again, 3 new faces on the podium and some future stars to keep an eye on.
Surprised to get here today. It's shocked to be here. These conditions as well is really tricky and slippy, but happy to be here and just have fun and enjoy the day.
It was a great day. The weather and all, it turned out good. Big thanks to Brendan Mangan and Colin O'Connor for helping me out here.
Brilliant. It's just the best feeling ever. Like in these conditions, so happy to win the whole thing out. Like, it's a good day, a very good day. Over the moon.
Unbelievably, 14-year-old Jack Shanahan wins the semi-pro championship by just 3 points from hard charger Diarmuid O'Connell. One driver looking to turn his look around this season was WKD Imports driver Barry Leonard.
First came into contact with drifting in 2005, 2006. Watched a lot of it on TV, and well, as just said, I need to start doing this. I started off in 2007, I think it was in Wargrass Hill, and just I'll go from there. In 2010, we won the semi-pro season. We done 4 out of 5 rounds, and it was just amazing. The car is 500 brake horsepower. Myself and the guys here at WKD have done an awful lot of work. Robbie from PDB has developed the engine, and Lee Owens has put the finishing touches with the turbo. Last year was quite difficult. We encountered a lot of problems, some small, some big. The start of the year, round 1 Mondello. First qualifying run, we blew the turbo, so that pretty much finished that weekend. We got a new turbo with the help of Lee Owens, and Robbie from TDP got sorted and remapped and got us back out on track. Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices made. We spent an awful lot of late nights here in WKD. With the help of my dad, without him, wouldn't be able to do it. But there's a lot of staying in on weekends and saving money and buying tyres and transport, and it's just things that people don't realise that we just do for the love of the sport. Winning an IDC championship is just awesome. The level and skill in Ireland at the minute is just unbelievable. Yeah, we're ready now for Japfest. The car seems to be just performing really well. I'm ready, and I just hope that I can get some good results and on a good show for the crowd.
On to pro qualifying at Main Stage Sunday, and 26 drivers were competing for a place in the top 16. It was go time for the best in the business. 17-year-old Northern star Dwayne McKeever would continue to impress in his 600 brake horsepower 180SX and qualifying 9th. Barry Leonard was clear from mechanical gremlins and flying in his WKD Imports S14. This run was enough for 8th place. Kevin O'Connell's first year in the pro class had been a baptism of fire, but the 20-year-old Cork man was on it in Mondello. Kevin would grab 7th. The giant killer Paul McCarthy was getting to grips with his new Nankang tyres, and the Barry's Motorsport driver would qualify 6th and book a spot in the top 16. Hankook Tyres driver Mike Fitz was blazing the circuit in his 1.3 litre 500 brake horsepower Mazda RX-7. Fitz would continue his run of form, qualifying 5th. Team Deltwit's driver Brian Egan's run wasn't perfect, but he held a breathtaking 109km/h drift speed through the first corner to shatter the target speed. Egan's Corolla would sit 4th. Formula Drift USA driver Darren McNamara would return in his Mazda-powered A86, and Ireland's most successful driver to date would prove his worth, qualifying 3rd. Japspeed and Maxxis Tyres driver Shane O'Sullivan is always a strong performer in Mondello. He was gunning for 2nd place in the championship and stated his intent with a 2nd place in qualifying. With no pressure on James Dean and the championship already in the bag, you'd forgive him for not pushing extra hard this weekend. The Cork man would do the exact opposite, and for the 5th time in as many rounds he would top qualifying with an incredible 99.5 run. So our top 16 was decided, the grandstands were full, and the thousands in attendance awaited the Superlap and the top 16 battles. Join us after the break from all the action from round 5 of the Irish Drift Championship. Welcome back to round 5 of the Irish Drift Championship here in Mandelo Park. With qualifying done and dusted and the top 16 decided, drivers would make some last-minute adjustments before heading to Superlap. In Superlap, each competitor gets 1 run of the course to score a maximum of 30 from the judges, with the highest scoring driver remaining centre circuit and declared the winner. Alan McCord would hit the circuit first in his V8 S15 and put in a solid run of 18 out of 30, enough to put him top spot for now. McCord's V8 always a fan favourite. Numerous drivers would unsuccessfully attempt to beat McCord's score until Martin French and the Lowbrain Drifters Achilles Tyres NASCAR-powered S13 would put in a blistering run, clouding the arena in smoke and scoring an incredible 25 out of 30. Frenchie was back with a bang in Mondello. With a score of 25 on the board, drivers were pushing extremely hard to try and match French's dominance. Dwayne McKeever looked like he'd the beating of French before a spin at the line cost him the score. With the IDC implementing a one-run and done system, some drivers are making uncharacteristic mistakes. Team Deltwit's pro rookie Brian Egan would try an audacious double 4th-gear clutch kick entry into Adelaide corner and hold it, so he was in with a massive shout of beating French's score. 27 out of 30 for Brian Egan as he tops Superlap. With 3 9s from the judges, Egan's score looked like it was going to be the winner. Shane O'Sullivan in the Japspeed S15. Shane had won the Superlap at round 1 and was continuing form, putting in an incredible run to the delight of the judges. Unbelievably, Shane O'Sullivan tops Superlap with a 28 out of 30. In the end, Japspeed's Shane O'Sullivan would secure the Superlap win. Let's check in with some of the drivers before the top 16.
So far the weekend's been very testing. We've gone from the wet to the dry, back to the wet and back to the dry again. It's been awesome, the car's running well, the boys are flying. Fantastic weekend.
So far so good. We managed to scrape into qualifying, which was difficult this morning with the conditions being wet and dry. But we made it, and Superlap was a little bit sketchy, but you know, we're still here and looking forward to the battle with Mike Fitz. It should be good.
It's been interesting. The slipperiest track I've ever been on in my life. It's quite challenging, very fast.
Yeah, not a bad day. Obviously wet this morning, which is a disaster. But qualifying went well, second in preliminary qualifying, fourth in Superlap, so we got a good draw, so let's see how it goes.
Absolutely amazing. Achilles tyre, low brain drifters, no understeer, and I'm here. That's it. We had issues yesterday and this morning. We put on new tyres on the front, and Superlap just about pulled it out of the bag.
Jap Speed's Shane O'Sullivan was having an incredible season, and we sat down with Shane before round 5.
So the first time I saw drifting was in Silverstone in 2006. I was living in England. One of my friends rang me to go up and watch the event, and from that day on that was it. I had to go drifting. 2008 I bought an XD1 Nissan 180, which is a very competitive car, which I used throughout 2008 and 2009 and 2010, getting finishes within the top 10. From there on, Shane from Jap Speed Ireland had been coming to the events with me, and he offered a Jap Speed car to me. It was one that was used very successfully in the UK and across Europe, won a lot of events. In 2012 we got to do the NEC, Autosport International and Top Gear Live. The IDC to me is probably one of the toughest events you could do anywhere in the world. I mean, you've got your practice, but when it comes down to it, you've got 2 laps to qualify. You're going out, you're going inches from the walls. You have to get your clipping points, as always, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 clipping points. You have to be on them. If you're not, you're just not in the show. So going into Jap Fest in 2nd position, I'd really like to hold it, to qualify well there, get on well, because it's a huge event for Ireland. It's a good crowd, it's the best crowd all year, and just to hold on to the position, finish up 2nd behind James, it'll make my year.
On to the top 16, and UK drifter Steve Evans in his Cosworth Claret Starlet would spin out against Shane O'Sullivan, and the Jap Speed driver would progress to the top 8. Team Jap Speed and Boys Own band member Shane Lynch would go one more time 3 times against WKD's Barry Leonard, until this mistake would hand Leonard the win. Amateur driver Chris Doyle would unbelievably make top 16 of Pro, but would go offline and allow Barry Motorsports' Paul McCarthy to make a clean overtake and take the win. Pro rookie Kevin O'Connell would face one of the most experienced drivers in Ireland, Darren McNamara. O'Connell would spin under pressure, and D-Mac would go through to the top 8. Dwayne McKeever would make contact on entry with Martin French in the Low-Brain Drifters Achilles Tyres V8 Sylvia. French would get the nod from the judges and progress to top 8 competition. After pulling a sizable gap, Wesley Keating in his backup car would throw his chances away against Hankook Tyres' Mike Fitz, and Fitz would get a spot in the top 8. Alan McCord in his V8 S15 would put in an incredible chase run against James Dean, but pushed far too hard on his lead run, overshooting the corner and handing Dean the win. Chris Brady would put 4 wheels off course on his lead run against Team Deltwith and Hankook Tyres driver Brian Egan. Pro rookie Egan would progress. On to the Great 8 we go. Barry Leonard would face his 2nd Jap Speed opponent in Shane O'Sullivan. Unfortunately, rear differential failure would see O'Sullivan's weekend end here. From giant killer to giant eater, Paul McCarthy would misjudge D-Mac's entry and take a bite out of the MCN Sport Corolla. The judges would call this one in favour of D-Mac. Mike Fitzgerald would get lost in a cloud of Achilles tyre smoke as Martin French would pull away undisturbed and take the victory. Brian Egan would put in a flawless lead run, but James Dean would put his Falcon Tyre RX-7 door to door with Egan, and the judges would reward his aggression. On to the semi-finals. Darren McNamara would get his transition all wrong to hand Barry Leonard a ticket to his first ever IDC final. Martin French would attempt a crazy entry against James Dean and lose it into the barriers. French would report clutch problems later, and thankfully both driver and car were okay. Two legends of Irish drifting, Darren McNamara and Martin French, would go head-to-head for a third spot on the podium. French would wash wide at Ford, handing an advantage to the rotary Corolla. Second half of the battle, and French once again would lose control on entry. D-Mac's bruised and battered Corolla would have no such problems, and he would anxiously wait to see if he had done enough to take home a trophy. A successful end to a troublesome year for D-Mac. It looks like all the hard work has paid off. On to the final, and Barry Leonard would take on the phenom James Dean. Barry Leonard would throw everything at James on entry, even dropping a wheel in the process, but the National Kart Centre Falcon Tyre driver would put foot to the floor and pull a sizable gap on the WKD Imports driver. Second run, and James Dean is door to door with Leonard right throughout the course. A clear example of why Dean is one of the most feared competitors in European drifting. The judges had made their decision, and the crowd would anxiously await the podium. Darren McNamara takes third spot over Martin French.
Fourth position, put your hands together for the ever-showing Martin French! My finalists are winning round 5 and the final and the championship. And 4 out of 5 rounds this year. Will you put your hands together for James Dean? Put your hands together in second position for Barry Leonard. It's been an incredible year. Once again, in fourth position, makes a noise for Martin French. In third, Darren McNamara, second place for Barry Leonard, and your 2013 champion and championship winner, James.
There you have it. James Dean wins 4 out of 5 rounds in 2013. A valiant effort from Leonard, but not enough to take top spot today.
Absolutely fantastic. Such a tough day. These guys work so hard in this car. It's great. I mean, just to come out of here with third, we're over the moon. It's really difficult. Everyone is going great out there, but we're really happy. Onwards and upwards from here.
I know, yeah. Unbelievable. It's a great honour to come second to James Dean. The man is just unbelievable. Very hard to chase, but really enjoyed this weekend. Had it tough. Came along today. We struggled at the first qualifying, but we got together and battled hard. What an awesome weekend.
I don't know how to sum up the feeling, to be honest. What a year it's been. Started off here in Mandelo Park at the first round and managed to win it, and I really wanted to come here this weekend, and just I had no pressure on me, no pressure for a championship or anything. I just wanted to put on a show and just push hard as possible and see what happened. But it was an amazing weekend and perfect season for me. Like, it's the best Irish drift season I've had since I started, and I wouldn't have been able to do it obviously with my sponsors. Falcon Tyres, National Kart Centre, been a huge support this year, and the car itself, from all my new product sponsors I got this year, between the clutch, the turbo, suspension, all the parts, like, the car has just been reliable, and that's a huge key to winning a championship as well, and I don't think I would have been able to do it without the help of them, so I'm just delighted.
That's all the time we've got from round 5 of the IDC. Join us for more action in 2014, where the IDC gets bigger and better.